That's a good way to total a car, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. If you're just pockmarked with little dents all over, yeah.
I was watching that line of thunderstorms last night moving through the Wasatch Front. It was very impressive. It also affected portions of eastern Idaho, but not like it did northern Utah.
And yet we escape all of this stuff.
It's
It's happening in eastern Idaho, it's happening in Oregon.
The fronts come together and they really start getting organized around the central and southeastern part of our state, and of course it always impacts Utah. Utah gets a pretty good monsoon flow this time of the year. They do get hit pretty hard with big thunderstorms.
Well, we can say thank you for not having to deal with that.
The side effect of that, of course, is always the potential for lightning causing fires. But folks, take a look at this Doppler radar. We're zoomed in right now to the islands out there in Hawaii, and I want to emphasize that a hurricane making landfall or affecting land is not an event. It is a process. It's a very slow, a very, very painstaking process. And you can see where the eye of Hurricane Lane is right there. It's well offshore of the island of Hawaii right now. However, every time you see one of these spiraling rain bands, these are called the outer rain bands that are rotating around to meet the center of circulation of that hurricane, every time one of these bands comes on shore, it is frightening because all of a sudden the wind begins to pick up very rapidly. You get these torrential rains, and then the winds die down, and then all of a sudden, as another band comes on shore, the winds all of a sudden very rapidly increase once again, and you just sit there and you're affected by this for days and days until the storm finally begins to move out of the area. The good news is, see that little red dot? That is the field associated with the hurricane force winds. In other words, this is where the hurricane force winds are. It's right there in that tiny little dot that extends outward 35 miles from the center of the storm. The yellow circle, that is where the tropical storm force winds are of 40 to 74 miles per hour. So as we put this in motion, there you can see the computer models projecting tropical storm force winds expected for many of the islands, with the core of the hurricane force winds, the strongest winds, remaining well offshore. But we already talked about the effects of being on the right side of a landfalling tropical system. It still causes a lot of problems. The biggest concern I'm worried about really is the torrential rain and the coastal erosion and the storm surge. I'm sure they've evacuated all the folks from the low-lying coastal communities. That's the primary concern. You get them out of the way and you let the storm do what it's going to do. Here's our time-lapse video. A little bit of mountain fog this morning, bright and early up in the Stanley Valley, but then the smoke, of course, starts taking over. Plenty of sunshine is expected, with temperature readings right now hanging out in the mid to the upper 80s throughout much of the Treasure Valley. Here's a little bit of a change that's on the way. For right now, no big changes, dry and smoky conditions through Saturday, but the models are still picking up on this developing area of low pressure up here to the north and of the west. And it's still expected to drop down into the Great Basin here on Monday. With it, we'll see cooler temperatures and maybe a few showers. The farther north you are, the higher in elevation you are, the greater the potential for the shower activity. So I'd say Long Valley is probably going to see a little better chance of showers on Monday than we will, but I still wouldn't be surprised to see a little spritzy here and there around parts of the valley. So temperature readings on Sunday dropping down to 79 degrees as we start getting a little more cloud cover on Monday. Mix of sun and clouds, maybe a couple of hit and miss pockets of rain, and then we'll try and clear things out and warm it up for the approaching holiday weekend. Not this weekend, of course, but we're talking Labor Day weekend, the following weekend. And the mountains are going to be seeing increasing clouds with a chance of rain on Monday. And then we'll try and clear it out also in time for the upcoming holiday weekend.
But I denote a little change coming here. I mean, like a kind of shift.
It'll hit us for a day, but temperatures could still warm up. It could still get warm this time of the year.
But it's nice to see some cooler temperatures for a change.